All right, here we go with game three. GenG picking the blue side again, getting punished for going red, again trying to make some adaptations, but we see the Jax ban coming out first. Xayah and Renata biting the dust. I don't know why Xayah they feel the need to ban, because again, Rakan is gone. So we'll see if they get punished for that once again. Silas being a nod to Chovy, and Rumble just being the strongest top laner available. So we get Maokai coming first, answered with Orianna Jarvan, classic pairing. We get Aatrox blind picked and Yone. So Yone, you take these Akali Yone types, assassin people who can dive into the Orianna. She's got no dashes, so you basically just need to connect with one spell to be able to swing that matchup. So the onus will be on Chovy to make those outplays and to make sure that he's got enough resources coming out of the laning phases, not getting poked out too much. Answered with Renekton to take over that lane against the Aatrox. Should be favorable for Renekton. I'm surprised that they didn't go for more of a counter pick, but they definitely want to have this formation where they can help Renekton dives in with Jarvan. Easy to get a very good flank off with those two. The bans in the next round, we have Zeri and Draven being taken away, and Aphelios and Kalista, so we're really pinching the pool here. Still leaves Ashe available, but with 5 carries gone, we'll see whether or not they even feel comfortable going that with the rest. I would have preferred to see Ashe here instead of Caitlyn, but we see Caitlyn on red 4, meaning that they give over Kai'Sa Nautilus. Very surprised to see that high of a priority on Caitlyn. She just doesn't have the same numbers that she used to have. Playing against Nautilus means that they're not quite feeling comfortable enough to play Lux and just shove them under, although that was potentially a play, but you look at the amount of hard engage from the composition in general, they end up going for Braum instead, saying, hey, we can just block some of these abilities and keep you from going in. It feels like a little bit too defensive here. Could have gone for more with all 3 of these picks. I like them individually. They're all fine, but they could have gone for more. We'll see if GenG is able to just take their power level up a notch and just play it from here. And we're going to have a big statement right here. If Doran's able to carry on Aatrox versus Renekton, or even just able to mitigate the losses, then that could speak a lot as to what they might try to continue with narratives for game 4 and game 5. So without further ado, let's get in. All right, now something that you want to think, if you're thinking like a coach, all right, it's 2-0 right now. You should always be thinking about the next game. What is game 4 going to look like? Start looking for the amalgam of information that you've gathered so far on your opponent, all of the scouting, everything that you've done so far, then everything that how it's working in your matchup as well, and giving a little bit more gravity, right? You can kind of create a scale where things that have happened in your series, put them at a magnitude of 1. Things that have happened earlier in the tournament, make them a magnitude of 0.8. Things that have happened other times that we've played against this team in the past, put that at a magnitude of 0.3. And you can sort of create this scale for what the tendencies are and what they're able to do. And you better be thinking about game 4. BLG should be thinking about, what if we lose? If we win, great. We don't play again until next Saturday. So I don't need to be spending any amount of time thinking about what if we win. I need to be thinking about, what if we lose? What are the causes for it? What's going differently? What is it in the draft? Is it in the play? And if I'm GenG, I'm thinking of, okay, we are winning this game. I'm not spending any time assuming that we're not winning this. I'm assuming we're winning. I have to find out why we're winning and what our opponents are going to do to answer it. So for one, they're probably going to choose blue side. What are they going to do with the draft? Are they going to try to give themselves a Jax blue 1 pick? Can we come up with an answer? There's a whole sequence of questions that you need to ask yourself as you prepare for this next game. That's what the coaching staff should be doing for the next 30 minutes. Watch, find insights, tune into Giga Gaming Academy YouTube channel. Obviously, they can't watch this. Games don't get published until after the tournament for obvious reasons. But, come gather your information. You guys have got it here. They have to do it on their own. They don't have the insights that you guys get. Thanks again for all the support, guys. Smash those like, subscribe, notifications, turn them on. We're going to be here for the rest of the tournament. And you're going to get the insights that these pro teams are looking for. Now, first couple adaptation, we have Jarvan versus Maokai. We see how we have a different path this time. This time, Maokai goes and battles for his blue buff. Renekton comes over and shadows, saying that I would have maybe given up a little bit, but Renekton's going to take over this top lane now. 3 versus 2 is creating a pushed wave. There's no junglers nearby. We'll see whether or not Maokai is able to sustain against Jarvan here. Dodges the EQ. That's a good step. Also puts the sapling. You see how he put the sapling right there on the edge of the bush right there? That was good enough where if a fight broke out, he'd have extra damage. If a fight doesn't break out, he can start red, and then he can draw the red down and use the extra 180 damage from the sapling to help clear the camp as he moves on. Now, this Jarvan invade goes along with a Caitlyn Braum push, right? Braum giving you a lot of safety, a lot of threat with the stuns. He's going to be very good in these fights, meaning that he's very happy to go push up, threaten, and move into the jungle together. This will keep Jarvan at 4 camps, Maokai at 5, so a little bit of a loss in tempo for Jarvan to go steal this buff. That's 2 red buffs in inventory. Now, Maokai doesn't really do that much with the buff. It does help his clear out a little bit, keeps him a little bit healthier. But Jarvan now needs to prove that this was worth it, right? Maokai's going to be out on the map faster. You see him pinging this because he's absolutely on his way here. Renekton needs to have a 25-second timer go off from the last time that you saw Maokai to 25 seconds later. Okay, this is when I need to start playing around the fact that he might be here. Now he can more accurately refine that timer and say, okay, I know exactly where Peanut's at. He's almost definitely taking this. I know I have to play weak side because Jarvan's here, but somehow Renekton's still in this awkward position. Now, Cannon versus Cannon, this is a mistake handling the wave by Bin. He's over pushed right now, so there is a potential for weakness here. This wave is coming back in. He wants to try to get it at that much HP. It's going to reinforce on this side, and then next wave it'll start pushing out, but that's long enough for Maokai to stay in the vicinity, and Renekton cannot feel good about pushing up right now. Now, it seems like Maokai is just going to use the threat of being nearby and not actually touch anything. He actually drops a ward here, which will stop any Jarvan paths that go like this, EQ over the wall, for example. So they are trying to corral the sorts of avenues that J4 could take to influence the top lane, and now the threat of Maokai being there allows Aatrox to trade a little bit more heavily. We'll see whether or not threat equates to actual lead. If Bin susses out the fact that Maokai might still just be farming, then yeah, he can go take advantage of this matchup, but the threat of Maokai being nearby is going to relieve some of the pressure from Aatrox at this moment where it's the worst possible matchup. Level 3 through 5 is the worst time to be Aatrox. Level 6, you can just trade ultimates and run away. There's nothing much to lose there. And then starting on completed items, especially once you have the completed Gore Drinker, and level 9 about, so you get the most cooldown on the Q, you get your passive down lower as well. That's when you're starting to feel more comfortable in this matchup. So very interesting adaptations. That's what happens. Everything, it's like a chain of dominoes that happens from the moment that this invade happens, and you know that Maokai has to retreat to his base. You know that he only has a Scuttle Crab to go hit. There's a top wave in the weird spot. Is the threat enough? It did get Aatrox out of that bad situation without actually having to present a target. Now, BLG has dominated the rest of the map. Jarvan is caught up on farming and has moved over to the Dragon Pit. The Caitlyn basically has perma-prio in this lane because she gets to shove in Kai'Sa all day long. With that range advantage, also the threat of Braum. There's no all-in threat from Nautilus because Braum is just going to turn that and put the passive stacks onto you. Also, you had that same window, right? When you have to think about it from bot lane's point of view, they know that Maokai left and that he's going to be on the top side of the map for the next 90 seconds. BLG knows it. They know you know it, right? Everything speaks to them being stronger on this half of the map. J4 is still in the vicinity. They turn that into more prio. They get good backs off. They get the dragon. You can see how the path of the jungler can make so much of an effect. Hold on. Oh no! Miscommunication from GenG. That is something you don't expect at this level. So you always, as Maokai, W, walk, and Q. There's no time for an auto. There's no time for anything else. You can just take one miniature step, and that's it. You can, if you have an attack speed rune, you can go right click, left click, just like immediately, just to slightly get to the side. But the motion of that auto attack puts so much risk in play where they might be able to sidestep or dodge the Q. So instead, it's always going to be W, walk, and then Q onto the side, which pushes you back. That should have been landed by Nautilus. The fact that Delight missed that is a pretty big indicator that they're feeling a little bit too hyphy, right? A little bit too hyped up, maybe feeling a little bit too much pressure. I need to hit this now. If I don't hit this, I fail or we lose, one of those sorts of interactions. What just happened there? Was our little stutter. Anyways, we'll see if Delight is able to recapture his senses, keep his wits about him. They're going to need all 5 members if they're going to come back in this game. Yone is going to be very strong into Orianna in those side lanes. They're going to have a lot of threat in a traditional 1-3-1 setting here. The emo in the middle of the fight, man, they are feeling themselves. 3 flashes used simultaneously. GenG just taking that down with Dorn. What was that? Peanut's also going to continue this. He's going to look for his next W. Wanted to potentially dodge the shockwave. If you're Orianna, that you can just put your shockwave on yourself in response to the Maokai timing. He'll be caught in that animation, and you will resolve it at about the same time that he would cast. And obviously, he's right on top of you, which means that that's a guaranteed hit every single time. So Yagao getting something back for themselves as well, and Elk just chipping away at this turret. Every time we look, boom, boom, boom. It's going lower and lower. And this could be a problem, right? The CS lead, and this is with Cole, guys. So this is going to pop into an early first item with that early lead, probably going to be Stormrazor. See whether or not they can take that snowball with it. Here we go. What was the play? It's a flash stun. What are they trying to do? Flash, right? So it's flash stun into EQ. Unfortunately, J4 gets rooted on the back half of that. Doesn't get any auto attacks off as well. So would have preferred to manage that a little bit differently. They were clearly trying to time something to go with Yagao's shockwave. Instead, they don't use it, which means still has it. Gets something back for himself eventually, but tough life. Look at these procs, man. Serious chip damage going in, the ult, the Q, everything going on to them. They peel. The flash ignite. It's too bad they used flash ignite when that was already going to hit. So potentially, source of weakness, Orianna, missing flash, missing teleport, missing ultimate, potential sign for weakness. They actually find Elk with a demonstrable misplay there, letting himself get knocked up by the ultimate. That is something you cannot allow to have happen when you're by yourself. Now you have Braum picking up the wave by yourself. This is also something you don't want. We'll see if there's an answer from J4 Orianna. They say, hey, there's 2 ults missing down here. We can potentially win this fight. But no, it's not going to be enough. Chase them off. Braum will be here to knock off the eye, but not before they give up the plates. So Kites is going to feel pretty good now. Another whiff there by... Right, this time by BLG, all right? They're trying, but they're not quite getting these combinations together. We saw it right here, saw it right there as well. You want to be able to land those combos, especially off of known locations, right? When you know what your animation is going to do to them, there's no excuse for missing your next spell. Small thing, but pivotal thing. You see how Braum juggled the wave there to make sure that he used exactly his charges on the most relevant minions. First one got dealt a bunch of damage by the Caitlyn Q, which means Kate can just auto attack it. He can then use his autos on the cannon, get that one dead. Kate just uses autos on the casters from there on, and you get all 7 minions dead very quickly. A tough teleport angle. They think that they have Yone coming in, but Yone is saying, I've got no ult. So they call off the play. Doran ends up biting the dust, and this way it's going to sit there as well. Renekton being strong. Now, if there's a potential win right here, it's the fact that Yone's going to get this plate, and he's going to rotate up to this top lane to go get this as well. Aatrox should come over to the bot lane, and you should send Kaisa to middle. All right, instead they're going back to standard. This is a little bit of a miss. They could have gotten more off of the map here. Yone might still cycle over for this, right? He picked up the wave middle, and now it looks like he's going to pick up the top wave as well. But we don't have the complete answer from everyone else. We're not gonna have teleports from Aatrox, so they may try to position him on that side of the map. See 2 people locked up. But again, talking about desyncing abilities and like what abilities should be comboing, this game has nerves written all over it, right? Maokai Yone, one of the strongest things you can do is set up those 5, and then enemy team stacks up, and then Yone's like, scoop you all up with my ultimate. Sorry, I don't mean for any phallic references, but the scoop them up. The best defense against Maokai is to stack in a line, right? So what you actually need to do against a Yone composition, someone that can come in and flank like this, you actually want to have your 3 beefcakes fan out, and then you want to have your carries as far away from each other, each having the tendrils blocked, right? And by stuffing this one, you protect this carry. By stuffing this one, you protect that carry. And you make them far away so that there's no way to scoop up everybody with one play afterwards. That's what they're going to try to do. Make it so that if Yone and Maokai want to use their ultimates to engage, they have to do it to tanks. They have to do it to Renekton, Jarvan, and Braum, who are all very happy to soak up that damage. And then try to turn the fight from there. But we will look for this, right? Tendrils of Corruption into whatever this ability is called from Yone. Scooping everybody up. That'll be a big team fight advantage that they can get for themselves. But we're talking about GenG. They've lost 5 consecutive games to BLG. They're down 2-0. They're down 2K. They're down 2 dragons. What meaningful advantage do they have right now? None. Flash Cleanser down, Teleport's down, Teleport from Dorn is down. All the abilities are up for BLG, so they're just stronger. They've got 2 dragons, more money in inventory, more resources available. This is their game to lose. Now, if there's a difference in scaling, we have to give it to GenG. All right, Aatrox is going to outscale Renekton. Maokai's got more tools than Jarvan later, and he's building tanks, so he'll be more useful later. Yone is going to far outscale Orianna. Orianna has big spikes, and she can last past level 16, but not as much. Caitlyn's going to outscale Kai'Sa, although Kai'Sa's single target damage can be very nice. And then looking at fights for the potential, Braum throwing his life away to save somebody versus Nautilus, those will basically turn into a wash. Braum's biggest advantage is in the mid game, where you can create skirmishes. But that's when we see like skirmish champion, skirmish champion, skirmish champion. If GenG can survive long enough, then the general shape of these fights, plus the threat of this ultimate into this one, and a flank, like the threat for the big team fight certainly favors GenG, but they're going to have to claim some sort of compensation here. They're going to have to find some way to give themselves momentum. They're probably still going to feel weaker for third dragon. So that puts the options on fighting for Soul, which is not going to feel great, or fighting for Baron. Hopefully they can try to fight for Baron. Worst case scenario is you're fighting for Soul and you lose that fight, and then you give up Soul and Baron. Similar to what happened last game. Except BLG correctly just sent the carry over. It's like, all right, Kallista's the worst in a sieging situation, but she's very, very good at killing a dragon. So killing the dragon while the team just holds off the siege, while they hold line of scrimmage, kind of keeping you vacuumed into that mid lane, never giving you a chance to move over. Shallow lines of wards. Battle for mid lane vision is going to ensue right now. I expect GenG to give this fight up unless they're feeling like they're really good on the spikes from Yone. Now I see Ruby Crystal picked up, so I wonder if we're going to see a Hull Breaker, if they're really going to dedicate themselves to this 1-3-1. If you go 1-3-1 into this mid-game spiked team who has a lead, then you're definitely giving that away, and you're probably giving this away as well, and you're trying to play for map pressure while they siege for Baron, right? And you try to survive with your 3-stack enough. Your 3-stack tries to keep this wave from being pushed in any further. Kai'Sa, not a great 1-3-1 champion. She does have that evolved W that she can go for if she goes Stormrazor into Rageblade and Nashor's Tooth, but it looks like we're probably going to get Navori Quickblades instead. Yet to be determined, but probable. Give it a good probable. Ekton's teleporting to bot lane. Wants to pick up a wave. Okay. It's a little bit aggressive to give that up. They're saying, no, we really want to shut off all avenues for you to get any gold, including turrets. But that means that they give up enough pressure. We're actually giving up this dragon. I have to wonder, what is BLG thinking to give this up? You've got such a tremendous lead at this point in the game. I can't think of a reason why BLG should have given up any amount of prio here. Even if GIGA were 70% through that turret, now you have him using a teleport. Now you're down 2 teleports. I think BLG's thinking about, oh my god, we might win, right? And you can't let that creep in. You can't let that thought that takes you out of the present creep into your mind, because then it distracts you. It takes away from that exuberant discovery. It takes away from critical insight moments where you might solve a puzzle or realize something that matters. If you start thinking, oh my god, we might win, we're actually gonna beat GenG, tournament favorites, and we're going to get there. We're gonna have a chance to play against JDG in the finals. It's gonna be all China in the final. Like, you can't let yourself start thinking about those, because then you start making slow little mistakes, and that's exactly what's happening. We're just seeing one after the other, a very bizarre teleport to bot lane. The fact that Yagao went top to push that and then teleported to middle, so now you have no access to these at all. You're giving away every advantage that you hustled to get in the early game. Props for GenG, taking the necessary steps to ask them whether or not they can come up with the right answers. It should have been a fairly easy answer to solve here from BLG, and yet they don't. All right, 40% of the HP gone. This is the strength of the Stormrazor into IE. IE has been over buffed. They basically brought it to the point where, like, it's either good enough now or we're deleting the item, because we can't have this go on. It's kind of bizarre to me, why not make it like a Rabadon's death cap? But we saw that when it was more expensive, it was just completely out of matter. I bet with just a little bit more stats, make it truly the stat stick, and dare people to get it second and reward them for doing it. But, don't tie it so much to just the critical chance odds, making it feel really random. Caitlyn is one of those champions that's not going to feel as random, although we might get, unlucky crit totals. Could be a script in this game. It's never something that you want to, like, ask yourself about, why did we lose this game? Oh, it's because I didn't get crits. That would suck. But it is very much in her onus, to lay out the traps, hit the E's, stand in bush whenever you can. By standing in the grass, it counts towards your headshot totals ×2. That was a little quality of life change that she got, going from 7 to 6 for the headshots. And now all of these should be able to trigger Infinity Edge. She should be good to look for more and more trades. Every time that headshot passive is up, she should be looking to try to get that off. All right, Orianna, we talked about this in the side lanes. Immobile, going to be gapped here. Renekton, you'd like to favor. I don't want to draw across your screen. You'd like to have Renekton against Yone. He has a little bit more potential to fight back. Look at this build we've got from the Yone. Very, very much about team fighting. He's saying, I've got Kraken Slayer. I'm going to pick this up. I'm just going to grab myself another crit item later, but I'm going to grab Stride Breaker right now because I want the move speed. I want to be able to jump into the middle of a fight. I want to slow everybody, and I don't want to get one shot back by everyone that's able to hold me down, especially since I need to probably ult through Kate trap lines to make something happen. Kaisa, Rageblade, highest single target burst damage build is going to be with Rageblade. You need this for the shred. You also play it well. I think all builds that go Rageblade are better than all the other ones. It is just such a nice item for her. The on hit, the fact that you can get that huge proc on the execute, and then you have the shred attached to it, meaning that she is guaranteed to be scaling going into the end game. See whether or not she goes for other on-hit builds or whether or not she goes for just a crit item. Most commonly, we see Nashor's Tooth here just to round out the profile, gives you all of your buffs. Q Evolve is kind of fake unless you have lethality. That's why we like that Umbral Glaive into Serrated Dirk. You get the fast Q Evolve, but then you need to work your way into Rageblade and go for the rest of the build from there. He's getting chunked out once again. It is a Hail of Blades, not a Fleet Footwork, so very much trying to play for that passive. Hail of Blades being very, very good in these short burst fights. If you see a lot of lockdown, you don't know how many hits you're going to get off in a fight. Hail of Blades plus Rage Blade is your best chance of getting a stacked passive off on a single target. We have another fight for the Dragon here at 23 minutes. We're stepping up. They're fighting for mid-prio. They actually get the push first. I mean, they get the river first. So again, demonstrable misplays by BLG to give up this much prio. We're going to see line of scrimmage being drawn on the right side of the pit here. We're going to see if BLG just muscle their way in. Renekton's feeling really good about diving forward. Has the Orianna ball for himself. Ends up flashing out. They don't get the prio target that they want, but they do scoop up Yone and counter the kill. Kai'Sa does kill Renekton, so that's going to be advantage for GenG in this fight. And look, you get to the backside of the fight. Pays is just trying to carry this thing with his mechanics. Can't quite do it. We still have a 3v3. Look at the position. The fight's going in two different directions. Doran is playing out of his mind here. Q flash to land it on top. We get 1v1 to finish that off. That is going to be huge Doran focused. We saw this in the Korean finals, that this champion, this player was able to take over games. He's not just the weak side guy anymore. He's able to put teams on his back. This is a level 15, guys. This Aatrox is going to be a huge problem. He's out leveling everybody. He's also going to have the most gold. I wouldn't be surprised if he's backing with a whole nother item right here. All right, so take a peek at the positions, all right? Look at the line of scrimmage being drawn. Renekton goes forward as we see the engage going for the Dragon. So we see Chovy over here, Peanut positioned, other three being zoned by Renekton. You absolutely want to have the ball onto the Renekton, use the extra resistances, and get this big shockwave off. They end up not getting that for themselves. Was it used right here? Okay, yeah, Shockwave being used solo to kill Yone. Would have much rather it be right here. Your E has a much longer range than your Q, and you can attach to people. I think it's 1,000 range away. So you can throw this E onto Renekton as he's diving forward, and especially once he gets access to Pays. This needs to be your window, right? Once he looks to dash forward, that E should be on him. You want that forward, you want the resistances right here. Boom. If you cast Shockwave right there, force Pays to flash in that moment, then he's stepping back from the fight. Then you're going to be super strong. Big HP lead here. You'll be able to step forward, go for the fight on these two. If Chovy goes in, you can turn back and fight onto him. Instead, we just treat Bin as a full peel tank right here. Doran soaks it all up. He's just stronger coming off the back end. Chovy goes in, tries to get the scoop onto Orianna. Does get the Shockwave, which is their single biggest tool to try to take down this fight at all. Peanut was sticking to the Dragon the entire time. Now they're redrawing lines of scrimmage. You see, again, they're feeling comfortable here. They've got the control ward. Super important to land control wards as the fights break out. Look at the difference in this. 1, 2, 3 control wards down in this fight as it's happening to ensure that you never lose vision. Now, that said, BLG can tuck themselves. This ward is not lit up. They don't know that, though. They don't know because they don't have their own ward. In here, you absolutely want to have this line, and this is testament to getting here first. The fact that BLG got here second means that they're playing with inferior vision. They've got this pocket, they've got this pocket, but the fight's happening right here. And these control wards, just for a moment, right? Even if you think just sliding back here for a moment, you disappear. It just becomes a question. Where did this person go? What cooldowns are available? Are they Q dashing, etc., right? The more questions you can ask, the more likely it is that they come up with bad answers. We got kill number 1. Here we go. Triumph proc plus the reset on the ultimate. Doran's just feeling super strong here. We see Aatrox versus Orianna. That's never going to favor Orianna. Elk does get one back, but then we see finally the Q flash being used to clean him up, and then it's a chaser from there on. So a beautifully played fight by Doran on Aatrox. Stepping up, saying, Bin who? I'm going to put you on Renekton duty. You can go and try to shield my whole team. I'm going to carry this team fight. 15.5, getting close to 16. He's going to hit 16 at about the same time that these other champions hit 15. So he's going to have that level 3 ultimate rocking. The next fight is absolutely going to be a question of where is Doran on Aatrox, what kind of flanks. BLG is going to have to be paranoid about his position. Now, he goes, clears that out. He's going to go slide over, give himself some more camps, meander his way over towards a flanking position. Probably by pushing in mid, he might try to take this. This is another position that you tend to see, but more as a red team. player. As blue team, you try to like jump over this wall, or jump over this wall to dash into those fights. Now BLG is here first. They're trying to catch Doran on a timer with no teleport. They're actually trying to force this play. They're saying they have the read on him somehow. They can't possibly have the read. They don't know that he's not here. If they had known, they would have absolutely gone and tried to take this whole fight and dare Chovy to dive into them. Instead, we get the full resets. Bot lane is completely even on the wave. But because of the XP advantage on GenG, it's going to push ever so slightly, right? It'll push just a little bit. One more minion will survive. Next wave will reinforce, and then it'll start pushing out. So this wave, you'll just keep an eye on it. This is the difference between having one extra level. You know what? It may have spawned actually before the level spikes came in. If it spawned while these guys were 15 and he wasn't 16, they don't have the level advantage. And in fact, it would make it turn the other way. All right, so we're going to call that even. Reinforcing wave's going to come back, grab it, pull it the other way. BLG knocked off of the siege. They're going to reset, come back. They're trying to set it back up again. They would very much like to get 16 on Orianna and Renekton, so expect them to play patiently. They want to play for these spikes. They also would like Elk to get, yeah, here we go. He's got a stopwatch. He's ready to go back into the fights. Radiant Virtue is basically final item on Braum. You got one and only one as support in this tournament. Haven't seen a single Vigilant Wordstone as well. Just the games don't go long enough. If we saw 2 items completed on supports, then we might see a Vigilant Wordstone come in third. It does give wonderful stat bonuses. So it actually has a very high win rate, but it tends to be bought at that stage of the game, you know, just super, super late. Luxury item, as it were. All right, Orianna picking up the wave. The push did come in. It's stacking up. She's staying so far back. She wants to keep herself at full health, doesn't want to lose anything as she comes in for this fight. Every time that this wave gets pushed first, it's a little bit of an advantage for GenG. Now, Doran is 16. Chovy's about to hit it. Giga also. Bin is the furthest away of the solo laners. Kai'Sa has a little level advantage here as well. Nautilus still on 10 is actually interesting. Has not yet gotten that second rank in the ultimate to get that little bit of extra kill threat. So both teams have a little bit of incentive to want to prolong the game. Obviously, the biggest one is right here. 2 level 16 ultimate spikes coming out. Going to be a big deal, and they just do not want to fight into this Aatrox. GenG not really asking many questions. They did put some more prio on the bot wave, but Yone's actually just chipping away at this dragon. They've got the control ward down here. Now BLG's first into the river. They were first to the wave. It means that they're going to give themselves some strength here. Caitlyn traps becoming such a huge part of this champion's kit as you move into the end game, and it looks like they're trying to take the dragon out of the pit, so they want to fight this. Look at this control ward right outside saying, no, you don't get to have any vision out here. I'm surprised that we don't have another one in the bush just to ensure that they have the vision advantage in the fight. It's going to come down to a flip. J4 wins the smite, and now we're going to back away, right, guys? Okay, we back away. They don't want to give that prolonged engage. They do not want to fight against this Aatrox. They're still level 15. I have to give a minus to Aatrox here. He needs to find that flank angle, right? Those are down. You have the opportunity to jump over this wall. You need to create the threat of the flank while your team presses in this way. Yone Maokai is that easy, very easy front to back scale. Hold on. 3 dragons to 2. They're setting up for the Baron. We see the first part of engage. 4-man shockwave hits. But now everybody gets scooped up by Yone. They all clumped up. $17 to $15. You did not expect this to be the narrative of Doran versus Bin. Neatly done by Chovy, a little way into the pit, using the E to jump over. You stack up Q1, Q2. You snap back, and then you cast Q3 to go over the wall. And you get into the pit like that without really losing any time. See the fans in elation. They're just relieved more than anything. It is going to be bedlam in Busan if they win this. If they win this and Game 4, right? If we go to Game 5, we're gonna start talking about some serious crowd hype. All right, so hold on. We get in. Renekton goes forward. So hold on. I saw that big suck up. I thought that was Orianna. Here's Orianna only being used on one, and it's right before Yone goes in, which means they don't get any of that damage back. I was mistaken. I saw the jumps from the red team thinking that was Orianna. But in fact was not. They just loop in. Yone gets everybody, and they clean up that fight. All right, they've nestled a 4.5K gold lead for their advantage. They've got the Baron, the Red Bull power play. We're going to see their technique for moving forward. You see this shallow line of wards right here? This is going to be to protect against rotations, but it looks like they're willing to move those over. Brahmas can start getting more. You can see vertical or horizon or horizontal ward lines being placed out because you want to have some amount of threat for a teleport, right? You want to have the threat of Renekton coming in. Remember how long ago we said that these guys weren't level 16? Bin still not level 16, has not had enough time to get access to waves or opportunity to win in these fights, has just been a sort of liability, and we're sort of seeing Adam status on Renekton here. We're happy to give you this champion if this is how it's going to go. All right, first third of this turret is down. We see the trap lines down in mid lane. They're going to continue to siege. You see the control wards down, 2 of them here to block any amount of vision that might get in their way. Chovy getting a little bit of a chunk. No ultimate being used either. I'm surprised that Caitlyn hasn't just taken a shot. You're not going to get very many chances. Here you go. You see Kai'Sa by herself. That is absolutely the window to take that. Now, we'll never see this in pro play, but in solo queue, you can use the collector early and get that early lethality bonus and get that plenty of extra damage. Can make your ultimates that much more lethal in games where things are much more spread out and you're more likely to find actual snipes. But in this game, they're just looking to get a little bit of a chunk, get a little bit of an HP advantage. It's going to be fairly inconsequential as we get into the stages where Kai'Sa can just, heal back up. She's probably got Legend Bloodlines somewhere in there. Maybe not. Maybe not with Hail of Blades. We didn't see the runes at the beginning of the game. We're going to see Rabadon's 4th into stopwatch, so we're going to see Zhonya's. Sometimes we see Zhonya's 5th, but Kai'Sa wanting to spike right now, wants the maximum amount of damage. And you do this whenever your team has lots of CC, right? Basically, they can get the 4 stacks for you. We're talking about ult plus Q3. That's 2 from there. Potentially 2 from here. Potentially 2, maybe 3 from here. Up to 3 from Aatrox. So this fight, as it goes out, you might see people sitting on 4 stacks, meaning that Kai'Sa just needs to stack up her Rage Blade, and then they'll poke on you, poke on you, poke on you, and you're going to see extreme amounts of damage. Also, she has that W. It's going to deal a lot of damage with this build as well. So going for the minimum amount to get the Q evolve for the early game, the lane phase, turning the rest of the focus into W. This is what we want for end game from Kai'Sa. Because you can basically count W casts versus auto attacks, and it's not close. It's not close at all. You get way more W casts than auto attacks. The auto attacks come once every 5 minutes. You get one spree of them. Maybe it's just dash over. You get one auto attack and a Q off during your ult. That's it. All right, 3rd dragon, 6 dragons dead this game. We are going all the way deep, 39 minutes in before we'll see a soul. BLG has managed to keep their structures alive, but they just don't seem to show any cohesion as for what they're trying to do. And this is what happens when you get Bin off of carries, right? When you try to make him this flank initiator, it's kind of similar to Jax, and you'd expect him to be able to do similar things on Renekton. As to what he can do on Jax, but with Jax, he's much more comfortable with how long he can be in the side wave. You've seen Renekton be very uncomfortable about when to pick up waves, how long, what to do, and where to influence the fights. That part should be the easiest part, right? Try to take that same flank angle that Jax can take. Excuse me. And see if you can find your way in, but has not found himself anything, and now he's stuck on 2.5 items. Facing down against basically 3 or 4 from everybody else. So he's one of the weakest members, if not the weakest member left in the game. Jarvan also on 2.5, has the stopwatch at least. Orianna, Caitlyn, the only real point of strength that you can really claim here, 387 CS, 4 completed items, going to go for GA next. I don't know that I like GA. In fact, I'm positive I don't like GA. This fight, I want to make sure that you're dealing the most damage possible. Your team needs you to scale. If you go GA, you will die, then the rest of your team will die, then everyone else will come and finish you off. If you are not dealing that damage, if you just go for this GA, you just don't have enough damage to carry the fight. Your team cannot withstand the pressure that's coming in from this AP Kai'Sa, Yone constantly threatening, Aatrox constantly threatening. You need to be able to outscale the Aatrox and the Yone, right? And that means 5 crit items, 100% crit. You need to be able to hit with every single thing for the maximum. Instead, we see GA, and this tends to not work out well. Solo queue, it's fine. Things are much more random, but still you have to know, what's your job? Are you the one who's carrying? Doran's the one who's in the middle of the fight. I wouldn't mind him having a Guardian Angel. Caitlyn should be on the extremity, dealing the most damage possible. All right, Baron's down. BLG gets the kill, however, on the strongest member. They chew through the Sterix gauge. Doesn't do enough. Even Randuin's Omen was not enough. I'm surprised a little bit by the Randuin's. It is certainly a solid defensive option, and it is going to mitigate a good chunk of the damage from Caitlyn. But you don't have that second person who's going for it. It also does give you some amount of crowd control. So it's serving plenty of purpose. It should be very good for them. Looks like we're going to get a Gargoyle Stone Plate from Aatrox as well. Saying, okay, I'm really far ahead. My only job is to not die. Normally you'd see Guardian Angel fill that role, but Gargoyle Stone Plate can be an adequate performer as well. All right, Gen has found an angle. They're going to try to create the split push. We said that they would be leaning into the 1-3-1 for later in the game. Well, now they've got the Baron. They've got Yone alive and pressuring that turret. In fact, the inhibitor is dead, right? So they got a lot back for themselves. Again, BLG seemingly unsure with where and how to put all the pressure here in the endgame. And this is going to be even more indicative to GenG that, like, holy crap, guys. Like, we shouldn't be taking these random fights for the second Herald against a team that is going to spike against us, right? Just let it drift, take what they give us. In this game, inexplicably, third dragon, I have no idea why BLG gave it to begin with, but since that moment, they've been playing off the back foot. So if we're talking to BLG, proactive, make your plays, go up, tempo. It's a tempo rift above everything. Baron buff spawning in 1 minute. So we're going to see the wards move up into the eastern quadrant right here. Baron buff will always have mid prio. They're going to push up. They may even go into a siege pattern. If you see a line of scrimmage being drawn here, like we have seen in the past, with red team taking the right half, then GenG will gladly take it and turn it into a push for mid. Now, Caitlyn's put out those traps very far ahead of the line. We're seeing Yone go for a little bit of a chunk. They're going to feel pretty good about this defense, but they're going to be later on the rotations here. And specifically, you're going to have to walk through an Aatrox, Yone, Maokai, Kai'Sa, Nautilus team, right? That team likes to play with picks. You want to try to create this big Wombo, Bronzodia team flank with Orianna Ultimate. And when they have the pick potential on you, you don't know where that big fight's going to come from. It makes it very, very hard to play Orianna. What they should be looking to do is put the Orianna shield right here, put it onto Renekton, and let Renekton just be the body that comes out. Or you can use Jarvan as well. You may even consider a budget item like Umbral Glaive here if you're the Jarvan. Something that will help your team fight back for the vision. I doubt they're going to go for it. It's very, very rare that they do this, but it is something, especially if you have Zombie Ward, can be something that you use for a lot of advantage. Now you see the carries sliding on back. Come back. You see Chovy just deals the most damage to it, even though Kai'Sa would deal a tremendous amount as well. They want Kai'Sa's poke. Yone can't poke. Kai'Sa can. Therefore, Kai'Sa is tasked with staying mid and maintaining some amount of control in this situation. Now, this trap line is moving very far out. Actually, to the point where GenG could actually skip, go here. Hold on. Yone ultimate's being used. 3 people are hit. Yone does not opt for the scoop. Actually, could have gotten a tremendous amount of damage up there in front. So a little bit of a missed opportunity, but he still has it. It's one of those times where maybe having the threat of the ability is more important than actually connecting with the ability itself. Doran trying to find this flanking angle. Wants to get some health back. Using Gore Drinker, using his passive. No, they're actually just going to give it to Kai'Sa. He's just tanking it up. Okay. Fair enough. But GenG does not seem like they feel like they can get anything done here. And that's okay. Frankly, once you have Cloud Drake, once you have this bonus, this extra out of combat move speed means you can fly around the map. You literally don't need to take a single fight that you don't want. You could move around the map, take everything, just play smoke and mirrors all day long, because how is this team ever going to catch you? They can't, right? They have one ability. Caitlyn's long-ish range can function in a siege, as can Orianna, but if you're trying to chase this team around and they've got Cloud, how are you ever supposed to get the fight that you want? And not only that, every time that you rotate, every time that you make a move, think of this like a basketball game where you have the arc, you pass, defense has to shift, then you rotate the ball back, you pass the opposite direction, defense has to shift, and again, and you start creating holes, and eventually you get a cutter or you get an opening somewhere. Right, that's what you try to do. It's reversing the field. You're making all the defense stretch thin. You can do that with Cloud Soul. You can just move side to side to side and actually get multiple waves pushing at the same time. Or you can create staggers where you go and say, all right, this wave's coming in. We can push this one, then the next one, then the next one. BLG has been outscaled. They are behind. They're down 8k, although that gold's going to stop mattering so much once we get the full builds everywhere across the board. They have survived long enough to get the super respawn, so GenG was not able to checkmate. They did get a tremendous amount of extra resources, but now is their point, right? Enemy team is just going to get relatively stronger. Is it going to be a fight right here? We have a blue ward down in this bush and nothing from BLG. They cannot feel comfortable about fighting that. They end up just going for a little bait and switch. Bin is stepping up. He's got his ultimate tagging. Last chance to maybe get anything forward. He uses the stopwatch. He's going to come out and cast his Q. Big heal. Kai'Sa isolates and is going to go for that single target damage. And you see how much damage comes off from the execution proc. Dealing 40% of his HP just like that. Rips him apart. So now with Renekton dead, you've got no pivot man. You've got no one to try to get the ball in. Jarvan's too linear. You can't do it against this Cloud team. So Baron is in tow. 2 minutes and 42 seconds till the Elder. So we're going to expect to see pushes in this quadrant. Now it is a broken top lane turret, so you can try to battle for slow pushes in the top lane. If you look at the experience difference, you're +1 in the jungle. You're -1 on support. So your waves aren't going to be any stronger. Someone will have to go and just blow that wave over just a little bit. Now, if you want to go, there's two avenues. One, hard push and then rotate and you try to make a fight happen while they pick up the wave. Or you go and slow push and then you hover in this area and you say, all right, this is going to linger here. Who's going to go pick it up? I detest the option here by Chovy, and this is something that he has not shown that he's capable of, right? We've watched as many games of Chovy's as anybody else, maybe besides Faker. He has not shown the capacity to warp end game waves. He is a complete early game master. This is something that is not in his repertoire yet, something that he needs to add. By pushing that wave, look at what he's accomplished. Nothing. Enemy team went and picked it up. That's fine. Your team got to move up your ward line. That's something. But it's nothing in comparison to if you had stacked the wave, your team would still be able to get those same benefits. And this time, if no one comes, you've actually got a stacked wave that's threatening to kill the structures on its own. Instead, Yone has to come revisit this wave. You're going to go succinct pushes, 1-3-1 style. And you haven't just bled away one for free. Now you've got actual meaningful advantage. This is fine now that your team's getting a better position. But that said, it's like you did open the door. All right, everything's being used on to pays. Is it enough? GA keeps him alive. And they've scavenged. They're trying to move around the fight. They're retreating backwards. Cloud Drake diff. You can never get onto us. If we choose to run away from a fight, we always will be able to do it. Now, GA being lost means that we're going to see that sold, and yeah, it does pick up a Void Staff. So going for the absolute maximum source of damage here. Sometimes you even see these boots change. Probably not sitting on quite enough gold for that yet. Big chunk. Flashing away from the cube. Elk seemingly surprised that they dealt that much damage up front to her. Interesting to not see Zhonya's, by the way. Hold on, the big 1v1. This absolutely favors Yone. He's going to win this. He jumps back as the shield comes on. Not quite enough. Now, Delight's going to look to pick more fights as well. Doran has the flank. This is going to be a huge win for them. Renekton doesn't have anything. Oriana's out of position. You catch the rotations. This is the Cloud Drake diff. You just make the map about rotations and flying around the map. One HP is all I need, says Jarvan. Survives, but it's not going to be enough. Delight's actually going to go install this back. Sun's going to try to find a pocket for himself to get back into the game. But we've got a series, guys. GenG is back on the board. 2-1, and the crowd goes kind of crazy.